And we are live. Welcome, everybody, to the Games Talk Live podcast. I didn't even tweet this out yet, so let me go ahead and do that. And, of course, I added you guys there to that tweet, so you guys can retweet that if you get a chance.
We already did.
YouTube. Of course, I am sitting here with Ian and Marc of the Just Gaming podcast, and, of course, of the YouTube channel, Legendary Drops. They've been on the show before, just about a month ago. We had a great time bringing them back. Funny story. It wasn't scheduled, but these guys were cool enough to be like, "Hey, we'll come and replace the guy who dropped out on you last minute." Thank you very much, Ian. Thanks, Marc. Appreciate you.
We always got your back.
Appreciate you. Let me see who's in the chat. Yeah, we got a few people in the chat. What's up, guys? I see Decado and Biff Rinaldi, Boba Fett Gaming. It's Timmy. A2 Ashtree Gaming in the house, and some great people. A couple of these guys are from the Australia, the Australia,
Yeah, we've. I think Marc's had a couple conversations with some of these guys trying.
Yeah,
to
they're in the future, man. They're living in the future.
We gotta wait for Ian's his rating to slow down so that we can start doing some stuff during the week. But yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to that.
And as everybody could tell, I've rebranded pretty much the whole channel. Of course, I've got, my merch and stuff. Look at that little coffee cup.
He's even got mugs. Look at this guy.
Yeah, I got a lot of shit. I got shirts. I got, hoodies. I've got everything. I've got long sleeve shirts. I've got, you know what? I need some underwear. My logo on the crotch would be amazing.
Just the face, right there, like on the cheek.
Man. No. How about an actual picture of my junk? No.
Okay.
No,
I've been trying to send you feet pics for weeks now, so
here we go,
I'm down,
Marc.
buddy.
Here we go. The show just got really weird. I'm sorry I started that, but how have you guys been, man? What you guys been up to? What have you been playing? Let everybody know.
Go ahead, Marc.
Well, I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty for content purposes only. But I even started up some Wolfen to try to get that Diablo 4 itch that I'm waiting on.
And you're playing the hell out of Pentiment. How's that going?
I have not even downloaded it, nor will I. I don't care.
Josh Sawyer is a genius, great writer. And I know that game has got some 10s out of 10s, but the game itself just does not interest me.
It's not really a game. Yeah. And I just looked at the video and I was like, I'm good.
But you know what? It's 16th century Clue. That's what it is, essentially.
Awesome.
So,
yeah.
Remember those old games that we used to play back in the day on the computer? What was it? Like those Sherlock Holmes games and stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of like that. You read a lot.
Speaking of which, they just re-released on the 14th a new version of Oregon Trail, if you're interested.
You have dysentery now, Marc.
Yes.
Ian, what have you been up to?
Oh man, I've been all over the place. So I'm a Final Fantasy 14 player, so I still have my raid season going on. That's going to come to an end soon.
You're still playing that?
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Damn.
Yeah,
that game will never die.
No,
it
won't.
I used to play that like 8 years ago, I think 7 years ago. That long ago. It's been a while.
It's only grown and got better, and its community has grown larger and larger. I think it's now the most played MMO out of all MMOs now.
Yeah, I bet.
I've been playing a lot of Call of Duty. I'm a big Call of Duty guy anyway, so a lot of Call of Duty Warzone, a lot of Call of Duty multiplayer, leveling up the guns, being overall frustrated with Activision and Infinity Ward.
So Call of Duty
level,
Modern Warfare 2 or Warzone? What do you prefer?
Oh, I play Warzone. I'm a BR guy. Yeah.
Now, is that the issue you're taking with the fans and stuff, kind of defending the game? Is it Warzone that has the frame dips? And
defending is a understatement.
Yeah.
So,
like I said, I call them cod suckers. Okay.
A lot of cod suckers out there.
Yeah. A lot of cod suckers out there. Okay.
Well, what's going on with the games right now? What's going on?
It's just like the apologists. Like, I don't understand. Like, when a game comes out, you're having crashing issues, you're having frame dips, and you're having all these latency issues. And then everybody's like, but the game's good and the game's made for the old school players, and it's just the streamers that are the ones that are complaining about it and blah blah blah. It's just the first week, guys. It'll be fixed. Like, why don't you guys want a game to just work when it comes out? Like, is that such an absurd thing to ask for?
Well, it gives me nothing to wait for. You know what I mean? If the game works, I can't wait for the patch.
Yeah, well, a game can't come out these days without having a little bit of bugs here and there and some frame rate issues and, maybe some missions that don't work.
Like, I think that there's like some things that are acceptable. You know what I mean? Like, there's certain things, any game, there's going to be some type of issue no matter what. But like, where it's just consistently, we're seeing the same problem over and over and over again. It's just like, dude, like, how are people not standing up and saying something about this? How are they not putting their foot down? And Mark and I were just talking about this on our podcast, that there's really not a lot of regulation so far as quality of games.
Mm-hmm.
There's regulation for rating, ESRB, right? But there's really nothing so far as quality. Like,
well, hell,
I'm sorry, but like,
even Nintendo used to have that seal of quality they used to put on the games themselves. But even they have faltered. I mean, Pokemon Violet or whatever it's called is just horrible. I've seen so many bad things on that game.
How dare you not want a game that is 720p and 20 FPS? You snob.
20. Sometimes it goes down to the single digits.
Yeah, it goes to 20 in cutscenes. How fucking fantastic is that?
Oh, I've seen it in single digits in cutscenes. It's crazy.
It's fucking awful.
Yeah. But no, you're right about that, Ian. We don't have a regulatory committee that's looking at stuff like that. They're so interested in looking at everything else, this ABK deal and everything. But what about us when it comes to games, like the actual games themselves? Like, they do come out broken and buggy all the time, and it's a problem. It's happening more and more, and of course it's come with the advent of the internet and everything. I mean, push it out now, fix it later attitude that a lot of people, especially publishing companies, have had. They tell their developers, push it out now, fix it later. And that's been the mentality of a lot of publishers out there, it seems. Sucks.
Us gamers, we become so conditioned to it. And that's why we're having the same problem like with the internet. We've got a TikTok out that has like 100,000 something, views on it. And these people are so angry that anybody has anything bad to say about the game, even though it's actual fact that there's something wrong with this game. And so what makes the company change its process if the fans are just going to defend it? And they're like, oh no, everything's okay. We'll just get a patch and maybe, hey, in a year, it's going to be good. Cyberpunk 2077 was good in a year, right? It was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, like, we are doing that to ourselves. We're a part of the problem.
It was just a $60 investment. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. You had to wait on that investment, the return. You had to wait on your return to that investment. It only took a year, but hey, PlayStation just totally took it off their marketplace because it was so bad. That's insane if you really think about that. The fact that they still sold so many copies and PlayStation had taken it off of their system completely. And they still sold so many. That's how much people really loved or still love CDPR. CD Projekt Red, I mean, they're already back in people's good graces already. They announced the Witcher 3 games and everybody's like, oh,
They're only back in everybody's graces because of Cyberpunk anime. That's it.
Yeah. Well,
the show was that good.
But even Cyberpunk 2077 was a great game. I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah. Once they fixed a lot of the issues, but it was just, why did it have to release like that?
By the way, in the chat, Gaming Fire says I had a 30 frame per second cutscene. Then when it jumped, it feels like 5 frames. I hope they patch Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Yeah.
And the thing about that game, after watching the footage, I don't know what kind of patches they're going to do to fix that. You know what I mean? I mean, other than because it looks like missing code. You got 5-foot pop up. You know what I mean? Like man, I don't know. I don't make games, so I mean, I don't know for sure, but that game is pretty busted. I mean, it's pretty busted.
Yeah. Well, happy Sunday to you too, Miss K. Good to see you in the house, Miss K TV. She used to make content here and there. I used to see it all the time. I don't think she really does anymore, but good person, veteran as well. So great person to have in the community. Boba Fett Gaming. I see you out there, brother. He's talking about why did they even bother to put Babylon's Fall on their system? Talking about the PlayStation.
Money.
Well, a lot of people said this, and I believe this wholeheartedly. So they made this exclusive, and I think that they put it out there to kind of test the waters in gas games for them. And unfortunately, it failed miserably. And nobody really bought it and played it.
It was a good experience for them because that's why they bought Bungie. They want Bungie to make gas games for them. You know what I mean? So they're not stopping with the thought process. They're building it. So
yeah, they're building. I believe it was 12 gas games that's in production right now, and
something like that.
Yeah. So that's what it was. They got an exclusive gas game, tried it out, and it failed. But again, that comes down to the game itself. Obviously it wasn't a good game. So, if you build a good game, people will come. That's just how it is. Unfortunately for some companies like COD, it doesn't matter if you build a good game, they still come.
Yeah. Well, they come for the name, right?
Yeah. I mean,
Honest Game Trailers did a really, really good video about it where they called Call of Duty Activision's answer to Madden.
Oh, that's perfect. Because last year's Call of Duty Vanguard was just critically panned, and like a lot people hated it, but they still bought it. They still bought it. It was the number one selling game last year.
They got a beautiful plan here, because now what it is that you have to buy the newest Call of Duty, because the newest Call of Duty is the next set of weapons that are going to be available in Warzone.
Yeah.
And what they do is when the new game comes out, they nerf all of the old game's weapons. So you have to go play the new game, otherwise you're not going to be having a very good time.
Kind of like Apple in this business when they take your battery and they just make it worse with the next installment of their cell phones. Like, just seems like they just upgrade all these features, and then your old phone stops working as well as it used to. Got to upgrade. Got to get to that next Call of Duty. But yeah, no, I'm glad you guys are here. Let's go ahead and get into one of the topics here. Let's talk about a rumor that the Embracer Group, which own a lot of studios, the Embracer Group is massive.
That's the group that's the company that more people need to be worried about.
Yeah,
honestly,
they own
buying
so
everything.
much, and to look at Microsoft and what they own, and I know Microsoft's $1 trillion company, but the Embracer Group, when it comes to gaming studios, they have so much more. So much more. Anyways, there's rumors that they might be selling off some of their studios, and there's a lot of speculation behind the scenes that they're saying that a lot of people are saying that Microsoft may be or has been talking to them behind the scenes because they've been helping out with certain games. A couple of their studios anyway. We have Eidos Montreal helping out with Playground, with Fable, and we have Crystal Dynamics helping out there with The Initiative and their game Perfect Dark. Yep. So, I mean, when you hear things like that, I mean, does it make you guys speculate those things or even think about that? Or do you think it's just, it is what it is. They're just helping out and they'll be gone after, the game's done?
To be honest with you, I'm on both sides of that coin. Yes, when they say Crystal Dynamics, because when I think Crystal Dynamics, I think Tomb Raider is the first thing I think of. They're the ones that they brought back. Tomb Raider, which I don't care how you look at it, marketing wise, and even on console, it leaned towards Xbox, right? So to me, that would be like a no brainer for them to pick them up. I believe, I can't remember, I think it was Montreal. I don't know. Whenever they did sell some of their assets from the EDOs. The company that this was the studio that was working on the Deus Ex, right? Newest Deus Ex.
Yeah, Deus Ex.
And so that company just went, or that studio just went away. But like I said, I could see them buying a couple, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, I could see it too. And I could see them keeping it kind of quiet right now because of the whole ABK thing. Which, by the way, I just want to get this out of the way because people out there, are still questioning this whole ABK thing. It's going to go through. Yeah, all this stuff going on with the European regulators and stuff. It's just delaying the inevitable. And for anybody thinking that COD will be exclusive, Phil, I think, has put that to rest. He's basically come out and said, unequivocally that it's going to be on PlayStation. This is what he said. I'll play it.
We think Call of Duty will be on PlayStation as long as players want to play Call of Duty on PlayStation. And that's not a competitive threat against PlayStation. That's just a pragmatic way of looking at it.
This brings me back to game streaming.
Oh, listen to this, because this guy mentions game streaming. And Phil, he responds like he doesn't want to hear it. Like he's tired of answering this question. Listen to this.
Right, because one way you could get Call of Duty on PlayStation.
Native Call of Duty on PlayStation, not linked to them having to carry Game Pass. If they want a streaming version of Call of Duty on we could do that as well, just like we do on our own consoles. There's nothing behind my back. It is the Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 doing great on PlayStation, doing great on Xbox. The next game, the next game, next like native on the platform, not having to subscribe to Game Pass. Sony does not have to take Game Pass on their platform to make that happen. There's nothing hidden. We want to continue to ship Call of Duty on
PlayStation. So,
yeah.
I mean, so to me, Ian, what do you
so think the wording is always great. Like I love as long as players want to play Call of Duty on PlayStation. Yeah. So when I hear that, like, I'm not trying to make it sound like, he has some evil plan, going on. He even says there's nothing behind his back. He's saying there's nothing behind his back for Call of Duty. That doesn't mean it's necessarily stopping him from saying that Infinity Ward is no longer going to be making Call of Duty, because we all know across the board, the Infinity Ward Call of Duty games are always the best ones. It always goes Infinity Ward, pretty good. Treyarch, okay. Sledgehammer, why did you do that? Yeah. And it's always been that cycle. So I think what's going to end up happening is they're probably just going to hand off Call of Duty to one of the other studios, and they're going to take Infinity Ward, and they're going to go, you guys are going to make a new game, and then they're going to make something better than Call of Duty.
Yeah,
a new first person shooter standard that would want to pull people from PlayStation to play an Xbox exclusive game. Because as it stands right now, what is your hallmark first person shooter experience that wants to draw a bunch of people over to Xbox? True. There is none. Halo's dead. You know what I mean? Like, well, Halo's in the grave. Sure. Yeah,
it's dying.
So not to say it can't be resurrected. By maybe Infinity Ward. I don't know.
I've mentioned other companies there at Microsoft to take over for Halo as well, because 343 are just, I don't know.
The wording that it would be like, as long as they want to play it on PlayStation. So once it's on Game Pass, are you going to want to play it on PlayStation? He's also come out and said, as long as there is a PlayStation console to play on. That to me is more threatening than anything. Like, well, what if there's no PlayStation?
Yeah, what if PlayStation just quietly goes away and just becomes multi-plat developer? I don't know. A lot of people say that about Microsoft as well, that now they just want to be a multi-plat developer, or just put Game Pass on everything. And that is indeed what they want, is to put Game Pass on everything. So if PlayStation would have allowed it, I'm sure it would be there. And but no, a friend of mine, Zocker87, he had stated on the RDX podcast, he stated that maybe they'll just change the name of Call of Duty and call it Gun of Duty. Yeah. There you go. You can have all the Call of Duties you want, but unfortunately we don't have it anymore. We have Gun of Duty.
Yeah, we have Call to Honor. Yeah, that's what we got now. So
I thought that was pretty funny when he said that, but it's I don't know. At the end of the day, look, Call of Duty is not going to be taken exclusively, because there's a bigger picture there. They want those mobile games. They want the King. They want other franchises there within Game Pass way more than they want freaking Call of Duty. Call of Duty is massive, don't get me wrong.
It is.
But it's not the biggest target they have there. It's mobile. It's that mobile space. That's the big one.
Yeah.
That's their main concern. Yeah, it's World of Warcraft, Diablo franchise. I mean, there's so many things in there, and I understand that PlayStation is worried about Call of Duty. They're worried about Call of Duty, and they're worried about Game Pass, because they've spent so much money in the last couple of years of buying exclusivity or timed exclusivity, be it either multiplayer betas early, characters that you can only get on PlayStation, stuff like that, to sell more consoles, because all the Andes that love Call of Duty, the COD suckers, as Ian likes to call them, they're going to go buy a PlayStation to be able to get that content. So that's what they're scared about. They're scared about losing console sales, and they're really scared of Game Pass.
I think
like
they're
Game
more.
Pass,
I think for when Sony's perspective, though, they're more afraid of losing the chance to money hat COD.
Yeah,
that's really what it comes down to.
Yeah.
They love the money hatting. So,
you're talking about like the exclusive skins and all the stuff,
yeah,
like,
man.
where they're like, oh man, we want Call of Duty, and like they got all this exclusive stuff, but
let's
PC
be real.
and Xbox get nothing.
There's many casuals out there who look at games sometimes and they don't know exactly what consoles they're on or not on, and they see all this marketing for PlayStation and they think, oh, it must be a PlayStation game. A lot of people thought Destiny was exclusive to PlayStation last gen.
Yeah,
it fucking might as well have been. I mean, the amount of
with the strikes and stuff.
The amount of content that they held back was fucking absurd. I mean, it was literally absurd.
It's pretty bad. And Ashtray, no. All right, you COD sucker. I do not have coffee with Zocker all the time or whatever. I've never had coffee with the guy. Anyways, why do you call them Andes? What's up with the Andes? Andes. Why can't they be Marcs?
He has no idea.
Just little Andes. I like it. Anyways, going back to Embracer now, because I just wanted to throw that out there about the ABK deal because I hate talking about it at length. Volition is now part of Gearbox Studios. What do you guys think about that?
Gearbox is also owned by who?
Embracer.
There you go.
Yep.
We've made full.
I actually
circle.
forgot about that.
Yeah. So Volition, the makers of the Saints Row franchise, the reboot and everything, can we say now that the franchise is probably dead after this last one?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, to be honest with you, Saints Row, I mean, they may have loved them when it got to like Get Out of Hell and stuff like that, but I think they kind of lost their personality and soul after 2. Like 2 was like their last good game, personally, for me, in my opinion.
I still liked them. I even liked 4. I enjoyed it. This last one I did not enjoy.
Them going to Gearbox doesn't really spark any kind of like, it doesn't even make my junk wiggle. You know what I mean? It's like, it doesn't do anything for me. After Borderlands 3, and then how they handled Tiny Tina's Adventure, which wasn't a bad game. They just kind of said, oh, okay, we're good. That's all you're going to get. I'm not even like, doesn't even register.
Real quick. Sauron Grant here says that super chat here. Thank you very much, man. He says it will stay on IW will stay on COD. Other teams will create new IP. IW.
Oh, he's saying Infinity Ward will stay with COD.
Gotcha,
yeah, so he's like saying that like they'll probably just keep Infinity Ward on COD if Xbox takes them or whatever, and then the other teams
people love the Treyarch games. I mean, they really do.
Yeah.
So I mean,
seems like they love any COD that comes out every year,
except for Vanguard. Yeah.
Oh, but they still buy it. That's the problem.
Yeah, it is true. I mean,
it's still bought. I mean,
yeah. I probably should walk that back when looking at the Treyarch ones, because like that's your Black Ops and stuff, and those ones are loved pretty well. So
they're loved pretty well.
Yeah, but Volition going into Gearbox, what's your thoughts on that? I mean, do you think that's a good move for them? I kind of think so.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it's a good move. I think it just makes the studio Gearbox a bit bigger, and I think Gearbox games are better than Saints Row. Let's face it. I mean,
yeah. So, and they honestly they probably need the help anyway.
Some fresh blood, buggy blood.
But do you need that?
I would generally
exactly. Do you need that fresh buggy blood from Saints Row? Do you need?
Yeah, I would like I would really like to see some like new IPs out of Gearbox, because I feel like when they actually try to do something new and creative, they usually do something really, really good. The only problem is that we see this a lot with most games, is like a lot of stuff is lacking originality lately, and I feel like people are just squeezing a lot of these franchises till they're dry.
You can say that again. One thing about the Embracer Group is that they did Crystal Dynamics, I believe, or was it Ida? I forgot who put it out. They put out a thing on Legacy of Kain, basically a survey, of talking to people about it and saying, hey, trying to see what people thought. I was one of those who answered, and I am very enthusiastic about bringing back Legacy of Kain. I want a
That'd
new,
be so sick.
I want a new game in the franchise. And yeah, a lot of people say they could remaster the old ones, which they can.
No,
they can remake the old ones, not remaster them. Remake.
Okay,
It would have to be remade from the ground up. However, they need to stick with that narrative because it was so good. That's really what shined in that franchise. So I love those games. I hope they do come back. Your thoughts, guys? Legacy of Kain.
I would love to jam Soul Reaver.
Yeah,
like a Soul Reaver remake. That makes
Blood Omen, like all those games, man.
That makes my pee hard. I mean, like those are some of my favorite like action game. Like that's like I think that's before Devil May Cry really took over, right?
Oh yeah.
As like that dark fantasy action, not really role playing. But
There was some
action games.
puzzles. There was just different things in there. But yeah, it was just great narrative. I love that freaking franchise. So good. And for its time anyway, it was really just, it was voice acted and stuff.
Yeah,
it was cool.
Yeah.
Very cinematic,
Yes, it was.
So,
I mean, plus we just don't have enough good vampire games right now, right?
You got Vampire Survivors. A lot of people are saying that should have been Game of the Year instead of Stray.
Do you
if you were going to choose an indie game.
Yeah. Does does V Rising count? That one's really good too, actually.
Yeah, that's a pretty good game.
Well, you know what, guys? Let's go ahead and talk about potatoes. These consoles, the Series S, the Series X, the PlayStation 5. You guys are a couple of PCMR. There's been a lot of talk this generation about how we are going to be held back because, innovation keeps moving, right? And these companies are going to continue to innovate, continue to push graphic fidelity. And with the new Unreal Engine 5, it's supposed to be really heavy and taxing on hardware, even 4090s and stuff. And people were saying, yeah, I don't know if you're going to hit 60 frames on an Unreal Engine 5 game, when these hit. But we have something that just came out recently, and this is from Unreal Engine, unrealengine.com. They said this is a new Unreal Engine 5.1. I like that they're calling it 5.1. It's kind of funny. Lumen, Nanite, and Virtual Shadow Maps updates. So they've updated some of these feature sets that were supposed to be really heavy within the Unreal Engine. And they've basically, they say here that this will support experiences running at 60 FPS on the next console, on the next gen consoles and capable PCs. I love the way they word that. The next gen consoles are first and capable PCs. It's just funny. It's weird to see that. But there are lower spec PCs out there that people game on. Let's face it.
If you look at Steam, it'll tell you what the most common card that's being played on, and I believe right now it's still the 1080.
Holy crap. Yeah.
So that's what most people own.
Yeah,
Which it's a solid card. I mean, there's no knocking it. It's a solid card, but
they can still play the majority of games today.
Yep.
So this is something that a lot of people weren't really thinking about, is the updates to some of these features in these engines and how they could be, how certain things could be mitigated to get these consoles to perform well. And we can actually get 60 frames games again, because let's be honest, like after Gotham Knights and A Plague's Tale Requiem came out, some of us were a bit scared. We're like, oh no, are we going down the 30 frames path? And maybe a performance mode at 40 frames, which I think is just complete horse shit. And a lot of people out there get mad at me for saying this, but I'm sorry. I don't want 40 frames. I've tried it on games, and it's not, yes, it's better than 30, but it is not 60 frames. It does not feel smooth to me. It's still jank. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how I feel.
So
Okay.
with the
Go
all right.
No, you're good.
So there's a lot to say.
guys.
There's a lot to say here. So this update, this update is actually bigger than a lot of people give it credit for, because of some pretty considerable frame rate gains from the shadows display, as well as the reflections. Now there are people that believe like the 5.1 update to Unreal Engine is like more in line with what is it, ray tracing, but that's not necessarily where this stands. Like there's a demo that you can actually watch. They got a video up on it on YouTube. It's a guy that like really just specializes in Unreal 5, and he showcases how they're able to actually like do draw distance in a completely different way that allows you to be able to like that allows them to basically be able to like create a full world from like I think it's, if I'm probably remembering it wrong, but I'm talking like 50,000 kilometer distance.
Holy crap.
Where before they couldn't even get like 50 kilometers.
That's insane.
And like, so you guys will realize with like some games, a lot of open world games, like backgrounds, typically like a tree will appear flat in a background. But how this engine works now is it can actually map the shadows and map the, it can actually map the polygons in real time, which means that there's no lag between that. So you don't see the flat tree anymore. It's a full tree. So all of your zones and areas are completely put together, but there's actually a frame rate increase because it's not having to do that whole pop in and out stuff.
Yeah, it's not forcing the GPU and the CPU or the GPU to do that processing. It's allowing it to just the AI to do it itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And while this stuff is a big deal, it doesn't help the games that are already out, because most of these companies, for cost saving purposes, use their own engines.
True.
Slipstream.
Yeah.
Why
they've moved to Unreal Engine 5, by the way.
Shocker.
Yeah. Well, they're going to do that for their BR.
Yeah. And I think it's their next game too, because there might be just we don't know exactly what's going to happen with the Halo franchise, but there's rumors and mumblings that they might just reboot the franchise again at some point. I don't know.
I feel like they've backed themselves into a hole. They're gonna have to.
Yeah.
But the point that I'm trying to make is that like, if these developers adopt that software, then they're going to find themselves in a position to make games that actually do run at 60 frames plus on consoles. Mm-hmm. However, as it stands, we have a lot of developers that are using engines that are homebrewed, and the issue is that they're not paying attention to the limits of the consoles. They're going outside of the limit of the console, and then they're getting too down. Yep. And they're trying to, exactly. And they're getting too far in their development cycle. And then all of a sudden it comes time for release and they're actually doing their QA testing. They put it on the Xbox. Oh, wait a minute. It's not working all that well, guys.
Usually though, they target the lower spec and then they scale up. That's what I've heard. Usually that's what developers do.
And that's the conversation that we had earlier today, is that's what I've heard too, as well, that they do that and then they scale up. But then if you look at it, why is the PC version, which a PC is so much like stronger wise than a console, why is the PC version just a little bit better? Only a little bit. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Maybe they can only scale up so far,
Well, no, that's not. But that wouldn't be the case with the PC, though, right? So I think they start here and then they just slowly bring it down. They start changing your shadows, your ray tracing, your bump mapping.
I don't know, because they have to. If you think about it, because as we talked about, the console isn't the lowest spec; it's actually on PC. So I would think that they would start at a lower spec than even the Series S people, the potato out there, and scale up. Now, there's features that you're never going to be able to put into a console. Well, I shouldn't say never, but I could say for the last gen consoles anyway, that you couldn't put there, ray tracing being one of those things. So you on PC have always had things like ray tracing and stuff, that we haven't on console. You've had higher frames and we didn't have that. There's certain things and features that you'll get before we do. And sometimes we don't get it at all. But I think that's because of of course, that's where your strength comes in on the PC is getting those features that we can't run. And that's part of that whole scale up thing. But that's why I think they have to start at the lower base. I would think that most, I think, would do that. Now, I think that there are outliers out there. There are developers that do start, that do target the higher end systems, the higher end rigs. And like your 40, there's developers out there, I'm sure, targeting even those 4090s now, saying, what can we do with this? The possibilities are endless, and they're sitting there rubbing their hands together, getting something together. And
I honestly think because the PlayStation 5 and the Xbox Series X are so closely aligned. I mean, don't get me, there's the Xbox has a little bit of a power creep over it, but I think those are I think those are what they're targeting. To be honest with you, I don't think they're targeting the S and then scaling up. It's easier to turn your settings down than it is to go up. You do understand what I'm saying? Yeah, you're gonna change shit if you do it that way. You literally got to change your scope of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, if you're talking about scale, you can't build certain things with such low memory on the Series S. I think it's a lot lower than the Series X and the PlayStation 5.
Yep, it is.
So there's things you're not going to be able to do there as far as scale goes. But I think with the features and using things like the FSR 2.1, things like that, it will help out. It definitely help out. It's helped out with Cyberpunk 2077, but it comes down to these developers actually using this stuff. This is something we're not really seeing much of. Developers are kind of not using the features.
That kind of goes to what Ian was alluding earlier, is all these developers are, I mean, if they had you have an Unreal but if they're using their own proprietary engines that they should know how to use, right? But now they have to alter them to get this other technology in there. You understand what I'm saying? So I don't know.
I think
it's not like a switch you just turn on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that's the issue that some developers, when you hear, developers want to get rid of the Series S. No, I think what it is they have to work harder for the Series S to run their games.
They do.
And I think that's what it is. Like they're having to create. They're having to kind of. They can get to wherever they're trying to get on the Series X, on the Series S, but they've got to go around certain things to try to get to that same spot. And I think that they've got to work a bit harder for that. And I think that's why some of them are like, it's tougher. It can be done, but it's tougher.
Do you think there'll ever be a time in this life cycle
they get
consoles that just they don't get rid of the S, but third-party developers say, hey, you know what? We're doing this on the X, but not the S.
I don't think so, because I think the Xbox has told all the developers that they have to create for the S. And I think that's something that's going to stick for this generation.
I wonder how much of a limitation that puts on them. I realized you were talking about before, where like the lowest common denominator, and which by the way, I mean, we didn't really touch on this too much, but you are right that the lowest common denominator. He's right. The lowest common denominator is the PC. If you look at minimum PC specs for a lot of these games, sometimes you'll see sometimes you'll see that they're saying that it's playable on like a 760. Where it's like, wow. Yeah. At that point, but I'm sitting there and I'm like, why?
Yeah,
why did you do that?
It's true.
Like,
it's like Evil West,
I have friends.
Yeah,
I have a friend of mine that has a 660.
Yeah.
Or
Boba
Fett
says,
why are you friends with them?
Evil West is playable on a 750, and yet it's only 1080p 30 or 1080p 60 on the Series X, which makes no sense to me at all. It's on Unreal Engine 4 as well. Like, obviously they didn't take the time, or didn't have the time, I should say, because maybe these developers were rushed. They didn't have the time or the budget to actually concentrate on the X and the PlayStation 5. So they're like, here we go. We scaled it up. You get 60 frames, but only at 1080p. That's what Evil West
see, and that's why I'm saying I think they scaled down, because I'm gonna tell you right now, playing on a 580 card or whatever, that game is not going to be it's not going to be an enjoyable experience. It's just not.
Yeah.
So that's why it can scale. I think the minimum requirements is it can scale down to that, as far as it can scale down to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because if you look at when it says recommended, it always has an addendum under there at 60 frames. This blah blah blah, whatever, right? Whatever resolution. So I think, like I said, I think it's a scaling down issue. That's why I like when you first brought up this conversation, like 2 weeks ago when we were talking about Gotham Knights and Plague Tale, and oh my god, it can only run at this. Instantly, the first thing I thought was we're gonna have a mid-gen refresh a lot sooner than they thought.
Yeah, there's a point of contention with that, like within the community. Like there's like a division. Some people believe we will have a mid-gen refresh, which I'm part of that group. I think there will be, and I think it'll be the end of 2024, maybe beginning of 2025. But I think there will be. But a lot of people don't think there will be. Like there's a lot of people that are saying no. Phil's already said that there's no reason to do it. We have the Series X. I believe that they're going to do it at some point. It's going to happen. And there's usually smoke to, to these rumors, smoke to a fire for these rumors, or fire to the smoke for these rumors. And we've heard about PlayStation 5 Pro, and we've heard about that for months, that they've been talking about it and stuff. And I think there's some truth to that. I think that they are looking into that. There is R&D going into that. And I think 2025 would be the time they would do it.
Mm-hmm. Ian had made a point earlier that with the crypto crash. Yeah, Ian, I gave you some fucking credit. Calm down there, bud. So with the crypto crash, they might be able to get, like right now you can buy a 3080 at MSRP, which you could never do before. Okay.
No.
But Microsoft and Sony might be able to buy better parts at a cheaper price to keep that, that price and that sweet spot that they like to be at,
Yeah. Nvidia and AMD scaled up big time because of crypto. And now with crypto crashing, going through the floor, most people don't trust it anymore. GPUs are selling like crazy, a lot of resell GPUs, and the whole like scalper thing is like done for GPUs now. I feel like there might be an opportunity for them to kind of come in and get a little bit of a cheaper deal on a console refresh.
Yeah, and hopefully by soon PlayStation will bring their price back down on their current console, because charging an extra $50 was.
I'm gonna tell you right
bullshit.
now, if I can sell it to you for that price and you keep buying at that price, I'm gonna keep it at that price.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I know. There's a lot of cod suckers out there in the console space.
He loves it. It's catching on.
I love it.
Sarah Grant, thank you very much. He says, no more remakes and remasters. Let the studios get creative. Just want to show support, Fonz. Best wishes to you and your family. Thank you very much, man. I'm kind of the same way with remakes and remasters as well. But there's just something about an older game that I really love that I wouldn't mind seeing rebooted again or remade completely. Legacy of Kain is one of them.
It's the time. It's the time difference.
Where it's bullshit is when they do something like The Last of Us Part 1. It made no sense. It was stupid.
Hey man, I'm ready for that. You know what I really want? I want to play that God of War Ragnarok remastered.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
I'm waiting on that, baby.
Speaking of remasters, they came out and has said that they are officially working on a Splinter Cell remake. Okay, a remake for Splinter Cell, the original Splinter Cell. And right now, if you go to Ubisoft's store, console and PC, they're giving away the first game for free.
Yeah.
So
I just want a new Splinter Cell
NFT.
Game.
It's an NFT.
Capono, I don't know if you read this, but this is what we played earlier. He said the Unreal Engine 5 is going to smoke the PlayStation 5 and Xbox X into 30 frames. But they're saying now with the updates to these features that are heavy within Unreal Engine 5 that we're going to experience games running at 60 FPS. What they're not saying, though, these will be indie titles and small games, right? No, no,
well, those are the people that are using
at 120 frames.
Yeah. Or what was that Falconeer or whatever it was game that was like 120 FPS or 8K on some I don't know.
Jesus.
Stupid. It was dumb, but it was just a small game.
So I got a question for you, Fonz. I got a question for you.
Yeah,
I got
go
a
ahead.
couple. I got a couple questions. Do you remember the marketing for the Xbox Series S? Was it
don't.
marketed as a 1440p box, or was it marketed as a 1080p box?
I think that it was marketed as a 1440p box by some console zealots and people, that were talking up this device before it was put to market. But I think that it was just honestly, I don't remember Microsoft putting a tag on it like that. I remember them saying that it was going to be just the entry point into this generation, this next gen generation.
If I remember correctly, they said it was a
know.
it was a 1080p box. That's what their target was, but it was capable of 1440p and 120
I think that's
hertz
what
on
was
subtitles,
yes,
right?
yes. I think that's what was said.
And I think a lot of people put a lot of stock in what these
1440p.
Yeah, they put it like it's going to be a 1440p console, and it's not. If you look at the specs on it, it's a 1080p.
No.
It's a competent 1080p, but it's a 1080p console.
Yeah,
and so I mean, it's. I was reading what Bubba said.
It's a decent console. I've got one myself. It's decent. It's not bad. I prefer my Series X for sure, but it's a good entry point to this generation.
As a lot of people own, I feel like most people probably own more than one console. Whether it's a Switch, or whether it's a PlayStation 5, or whether it's a PC like me. Like I love this. I love my Series S,
dude.
Because I don't need I have as a PC player. Yeah. I basically just have the better Xbox Series S, right?
Yeah.
Because I play all the same Xbox games that everybody else does. It's all available on Game Pass and PC Game Pass, just the same as it is on the Series X, or just the same as the Series S. But like as just like an affordable media player / console game device, the thing is great. I think them coming out with that was probably one of the smartest decisions they ever had, because if it wasn't for the fact of the Series S,
100%.
there would have been no consoles sold during the holiday season last year or the year before that.
Think about this year. They're going to sell it $250 here in the States. That's insane.
That's a good bargain.
Yeah, a big bargain. And I got a super chat here. I can't say this name. Magna Angemon. I'm not sure.
You're right. Angemon.
Magna Angemon. Okay.
Yeah,
he says, Fonz is the man. Thank you. Appreciate you.
It's a Digimon fan you got there, bud.
Okay. I got to put some respect on that name.
Only culture people like me might understand that.
Yeah, all right. So the next question I got to ask you, Fonz, this is the same question that I asked Ian on our podcast. Okay. And we had a long discussion about it, but I'm just curious to see what you think about it. Okay. Should devs have to diminish the scope of a game, graphical fidelity, and performance because of limitations of current consoles? And second part of that question is, are devs using hardware as an excuse for poor optimization?
Okay, for the first question, I will say no. I don't think a developer should have to scale back any of their ideas. I think they should be as creative as possible and create whatever they want to create. And if it can't run on a certain platform, then sorry. Can't run on that platform. I don't think we should ever hold back the developers. I think that's a wrong move. I want them to innovate. The problem is I also want to play these games, and I don't want them to keep them off my console. But yeah, I definitely wouldn't stop them. What was the second part?
Are devs using hardware as an excuse for poor optimization?
Ooh, maybe some. Maybe some have used the hardware, but I think for the most part, I think it really comes down to developers not having enough time. I think these developers are under crunch, so to speak, and I think that publishers are pushing them to get those dates, hit those target dates, and if it's not ready by that time, they're just releasing it as is, and they're just telling them to fix it later. We talked about it at the beginning of the show. That's the mentality that a lot of publishers have. Fix it later.
So this is actually in part like the discussion I was having with Marc on our show just before this, is that we were talking about Pokemon, right?
Yeah.
And Pokemon, though it's made by Game Freak, the whole entire thing is ran by the Pokemon company, right? They have a strict schedule of games, cards, merchandise, TV show, movies, and it always goes on that cycle. So the minute that the minute that Game Freak is taking a little bit too long, the rest of that whole schedule has to deviate, including and people don't really know this, but the television series, they have to in real time write completely different side stories to go off on until Game Freak finishes the game so that they can put the series back on the normal schedule of the series arc. So it disrupts the whole ecosystem. That's why there's so much pressure on them to just push the game out immediately. And I feel like there's something similar to that with a lot of the other game companies too.
Is there any truth to Game Freak putting this game out or creating it within 4 months? That's what I heard.
No, they start working on it. Logical. They start working on it the minute the minute the last one's done.
Because that didn't sound right to me. But damn, it looks like they only took 4 months making it. I'll tell you that.
It does. It does. I think they had a really large scope, a lot of big ideas, but nothing ever got fleshed out because they didn't realize because what are you releasing a game in every 2 years?
Oh yeah. Well, it depends on the game.
When was Sword and Shield?
It's 2 years ago.
By the way, Cerebral Assassin, he's $2 super chat. Thank you very much. He put out a code for Ultimate Game Pass Ultimate, guys.
That's nice.
Pick it up.
Here we go. So Pokemon Sword and Shield came out November 15th, 2019.
So 3 years ago.
3 years.
So 3 years ago. So imagine creating an entirely new game with a much larger scope, much larger world, very ambitious with a lot of the stuff that they went to do in this one, right? But you only got 3 years to do it. Probably less than that.
And limited hardware to do it on.
Yeah, because think about it. You only really... So you have 2 years to build and then 1 year, hopefully, to be able to perfect it and make sure the performance is good and make sure that it's running as it should. Well, the problem is I'd imagine they probably pushed right up on that performance window all the way up to probably 3 months or 4 months before the game came out.
Yeah,
and they just didn't make it in time.
Yeah,
it's that BioWare magic, right?
Well, we'll see what's going to happen, in the future with Unreal Engine 5.1. Now they're calling it. And you're right. It depends on, what they can't fix the games that are already out, with this stuff. But at least going forward, some of these games hopefully take on these features of 5.1 and they're less bloated to help out with performance with these consoles and with the lower end PCs. That's all we're hoping for anyway. Let's go ahead and talk about our last topic here. And this is going to be a doozy, guys. It's, of course, your Game of the Year contenders. Who are they? Let's take a look. So the Keeleys for 2022, I call them the Keeleys. I've been calling them that for years because let's face it, it's Jeff Keighley's show. And his group of journalists and other people who decide these nominees, I don't know what the criteria is, but this is what they came up with this year, guys. And this is it is in a particular order here. We have A Plague's Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Forbidden West, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. That is your Game of the Year award nominees, guys. Looking at that, what do you guys feel like? Is there any standouts here or
these are all pretty run of the mill games. None of them really
equal,
jump
right?
out.
Yeah, equal.
Here's my favorite thing. Horizon Forbidden West, out of all of these, came out first. Okay. Then Elden Ring came out, and then Horizon Forbidden West devs got on Twitter to shit on Elden Ring because it didn't have the same fucking UI that they use.
Yeah.
Right? Okay, and then we got Stray comes out when there's a fucking drought. No one would have bought this game if there were no fucking games to buy. Honestly, they just wouldn't have. That's just me.
Really?
And then Xenoblade, if you have a Switch, that's probably a good game. I don't know. Whatever. And then you got the God of War, which is a good game, but it's God of War. It's the same game. It's literally all it is Rise made the blueprint for God of War, and God of War carried on the torch.
Fuck you. Don't say that.
No.
again.
When Rise
know
came
people
out,
are
what was
saying
the biggest
that, but-
complaint about
oh
that?
my God.
Was fucking QTE, right? It has QTE finishers. Guess what God of War is?
Guess
It's a
what?
fucking
The old God of
cinematic
War had
QTE.
QTEs. It always had
Exactly.
QTEs though. So it came out way before Rise. And I would argue that God of War was in production before Rise launched.
God of War
2018. Yeah,
No way.
I would argue
No
that
way.
as well. At the end of the day, it's like this for me. I look at all these nominees, and there's one in particular that it's over my head. I don't fucking get it. Why the hell is Stray there?
It's a really good game and a shame.
No,
on you, so.
Mark, shut up. It's not a really good game. You probably never even played it.
Oh yeah, I did.
Okay.
A whole 3-hour game there, by the way.
Did you know that cat videos are the most watched videos on YouTube?
Oh, yeah. No, I definitely know that. I definitely know
That is why. That's why Stray is there. It's specifically just because people love cats, man. That's really all it is. I mean, Stray's not anything necessarily like very
Special,
revolutionary or special. I mean, it is unique in its world and its world building, but outside of that, I don't know. I feel like they just ran out of ideas and they were randomly just like, that one.
Everybody in the chat's like, it's because a cat's there. It's no. I honestly, and I said this on RDX as well. I think it's kind of a joke, not necessarily like a haha funny joke, but one of those things like, let's fuck with people. Let's put something in there that they would even that nobody would vote for.
The only thing I got to bring up,
I don't know.
The only thing I got to interject with is I want Stray to win, and the reason I want Stray to win is because think about how legendary the Stray and Elden Ring and God of War memes are going to be.
The tears. Yeah, I voted for Stray. Both Game of the Year and the other category it's in, Action Adventure. I voted for both of those. Both were for Stray for me because I was just like, if you're going to put it in there, hey, you win. You play stupid games, win stupid prizes. Let's hope the stupid game wins.
I hope it wins so that fucking Sony can realize that you can put out a game day and date and it fucking is received well.
Oh,
it's weird.
Well, Ragnarok is received very well.
It was. Okay.
Well, it's not day and date though. It's not on PC. That's right. It's not on PC yet, but in a year's time, guys, you'll be able to play Ragnarok on your PCs because they've already stated that within a year's time they're going to have their first party go to PC. And speaking of Ragnarok, I really enjoy Ragnarok. I've been playing this game. This is just some footage that I had recorded. I played it last week too. It's no spoilers or anything. I'm having a great time with this game, and I'm playing it at the high frame rate mode with VRR. And let me tell you, it is a beautiful fucking game. Like, it is gorgeous. And I know it's a last gen game, guys. I know it's just, it's kind of like the PC thing, you can have a game look so good on one console, but then on the PC, it's just magically even better. They ramp it up with graphic fidelity. That's what happens with the PlayStation 5 here. It looks great. It looks really good. It plays really good. My only problem with this game not getting the nod for Game of the Year, I'm not finished with it yet. I'm probably about 5 hours. I've got 5 hours left, I think, before I'll finish it. I'm right now currently about 23 hours in. My problem with this game not getting the nod, and I have a problem with people giving it 10s out of 10s, is that it's definitely not a perfect game. This game has its issues, and it has its moments where see, with Elden Ring, I played through Elden Ring, and not one time was I bored.
No.
I was not bored in Elden Ring whatsoever. With this game, I had issues to where I was doing more puzzles and walking around more than I was fighting for hours.
Yeah.
This game, and I put out a tweet and I said, guys, I'm 8 hours in. Does this game pick up with combat? Because right now it's like puzzle, talk, puzzle, combat for 2-3 minutes, then back to puzzle, talk, puzzle. And I'm just like, does it pick up? I had a lot of liars out there telling me, oh, sorry, I don't mean to call you liars if you were trying to be honest, saying that it doesn't pick up, but it does. And I think maybe the reason why they don't really pick up on that fact is that maybe they didn't like the story and they weren't really paying attention. And so maybe the story beats were just bad to them altogether and they were bored. I love the story in this game. I love the voice acting in this game. It's incredible. What I don't love so much is the puzzles. I know God of War's traditionally always had puzzles, but there was just a lot more than combat within the first 8, 9 hours, 10 hours. It took 11 hours for this game to start ramping up with that combat, but it did. And now I am just like having a blast with it. There's so much combat going on right now. And I'm like, why did people even tell me that it doesn't get better? But it definitely does. I'm enjoying it, but because of those parts that I had issues with, it can't be a 10 out of 10 game and it can't be my game of the year. So therefore, honestly, I would give it to Elden Ring. Elden Ring was never bored. And if people think back, when they played Elden Ring, you had everybody playing that game and everybody was having a blast. People that didn't even like Souls games were playing Elden Ring and having a blast. Even people that didn't beat Elden Ring were saying they were having a blast, their whole playthrough, even if it was just, 20 hours or 10 hours, they enjoyed their time. That's something that people, I think, forget after a while. So many months goes by because a game like this comes out and they may play this and they may really enjoy it and like the story like I do and say, oh my God, this, made a big impact on me because that story was incredible. What they're failing to remember is months ago, they were playing a game for months and it was just amazing to them all the way through and they had no boring parts, and that's the sad part.
That's the difference between these two titles. Okay. God of War is it is a big release because it's God of War. Elden Ring was a global event. It wasn't just a game release just for, because I think this is where exclusivity in my mind for the award hurts this game because like Elden Ring was an event. Everybody was talking about Elden Ring. Everybody was talking about Elden Ring. You had Dr. Disrespect playing Elden Ring on his stream.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? This was an event.
So
go ahead. I'm good.
When I'm thinking about a game of the year should be something that pushes gaming forward. It should be something innovative, something that, like Mark said, a global event, something that just takes the world by storm and just absolutely holds your attention. Elden Ring did something insane. The world building in that game was unlike anything I've ever seen before. Every time you'd enter into a new area, you were like, I was awestruck. I didn't know how to react. The first time of going down the elevator and then finding, I can't remember what the name of the zone is now. But like the necropolis under the city or under the first area, and then realizing that the whole underground map is actually under the entire continent, and it all interweaves with each other in different areas, and those are and all of it's pretty much like kind of level gated a little bit, but it's so smooth that you don't even notice it.
That was the crazy part too. I'm glad you brought that up because I was playing Elden Ring, in the world and having a blast. And I went underground and I was like, wait a minute, this is a whole new world onto itself. Like it's huge. And I couldn't believe the scope of the game. I was like, are you telling me that this is like a whole area down here as well? I was blown away. And I had a blast going through trying to find all the different areas. And I'm sure that I've missed some. Areas.
There's tons of hidden content, hidden bosses, hidden storylines, certain things that you could have chose to do that you didn't do, that could completely alter like side quests that you have in the game.
It took
NPCs you could have killed to take their shit.
It took me more than 7 days to complete, just to complete the game. 7 days time. It was just I spent so much time, and of course that's over the course of almost 2 months, I think. But it was 7 days time. I was like, holy crap, this game is long.
It's
just a blast.
It'll be a travesty. I mean, I kind of think honestly the year because Red Dead Redemption 2 was up And
For against God of War.
Then God of War stole that. I think honestly, I think God of War stole that award. And I think, and don't get me wrong, I played God of War on PC, and I think it's a fantastic game, and I'm really looking forward to continuing the story.
Oh, it's great.
PC.
It's great.
But Red Dead Redemption was the better game. You know
in
what I
my
mean?
opinion, too. In my
but
opinion,
God of War was the freshest in memory.
But
so I'm
I think
just
that
worried
happens
about
too. That's what I was bringing up, the whole fresh in your memory thing. It's like you forget that you had such a great time with that Elden Ring because you're playing a brand new game and it's a great experience. So you're thinking, oh, this is my game of the year now. And I know some people fall under that, and that's not a good thing to do because honestly, Elden Ring is the better game. And I know it's all subjective, but at the end of the day, if you really think about everything they did, the world building and stuff and everything new within Elden Ring compared to the same God of War, pretty much. You're going back through some of the same areas as well. It's not as good.
That's unfortunate if they reused assets like that.
But of course they did. But it looks and plays incredibly. The voice acting is fucking phenomenal. It's honestly a really great game. Like I had to hit that 11 hours before it really got its hooks in me. And now I'm just like, holy crap, this game is awesome. So my friend Infinite Umbra in the chat had mentioned that he felt like this game was padded. And I will agree. It's definitely padded. You can tell that they added a lot of things in it to try to make it a longer game than it should have been. Some of the puzzles I just fucking hate, but it is what it is. It's.
I mean, that's kind of how I feel about the Horizon games. I played, like I said, I played the first one on PC, and besides the horrible Ubisoft-esque UI, there was a lot of added shit that they used. There's a lot of added shit that didn't really add anything to the context of the game other than something to go do. You know what I mean? So
but no, for game, anything in these game awards show that you've seen that you laughed at, any of the nominees that you've seen in other categories.
Yeah, they fucking snuck in one for goddamn The Last of Us Part 1. Like, go fuck yourself. You know what I mean? Like, literally go fuck yourself.
And that was for the accessibility, right?
Accessibility. Fucking accessibility. Like, could you, like, let's just make up some shit and it's in there. What made that game accessible? Did they put fucking colorblind mode on it? Is that what they did?
Yeah. The only thing that I would vote for in that category is because it's the only one it's in is As Dusk Falls. I really enjoyed that game. And that game, again, it's one of those indie titles that you don't play necessarily. It's like choose your own adventure type thing.
Yeah.
You're basically clicking buttons at the right time.
What do you think about some of these other? Go ahead.
I said this is going to sound like I hate Sony because I don't hate Sony games. I just hate Sony as a company. I enjoy their games, but they threw Gran Turismo 7 in there for the racing title or sports racing / title, and that is a dead game. You know what I mean? Like, it is a dead game. It's an online service game, and it's dead. It just seems it just seems like they could have put something else in that spot. So
what do you guys think about some of these other some of these other categories?
If you got it pulled up, go ahead and
I'm flipping through. I'm flipping through some of the ones that are like, so you got best scores in music. God of War Ragnarok again, Metal Hellsinger, Xenoblade, Elden Ring, A Plague Tale Requiem. I mean, I feel like the rhythm game is the dead ringer on that one, right?
Should be.
Rhythm game, huh?
Metal Hellsinger. It's Doom. It's Doom to a beat. Is basically what it is. It's Doom Guitar Hero.
Yeah. I tried to play that one and I couldn't get it down very well. I guess I just don't have the rhythm for it.
Fonz, you're not allowed to.
I like how we're laughing and you're not. Like we're like laughing and
it's like how you suck at it. Get on the dance floor, bitch.
Oh my God, Mark.
Yes, sir.
Best audio design. They have Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2 on here.
It's gonna Go ahead and roll my controller up and get out of here.
That game has some of the most inconsistent sound out of any game.
Tell me if God of War Ragnarok's on there, because it should be if it's not.
It is.
It is.
Yeah,
Best audio design.
Is in every
incredible audio.
I would Gran Turismo's audio design's on here as well, and theirs is actually really, really good. For the last Gran Turismo game. Elden Ring's on here, of course, yet again.
I don't know if I would use Elden Ring because the audio sounds in that game too is just like every other Souls game, pretty much.
Yeah.
So this one's interesting because this is just kind of part of a larger discussion because we already, and not that we got to drag it out or anything like that, but games as a service is a main point of contention, right? Like it's a big topic. It seems like what every single developer out there wants to have is their own game as a service. And out of the best ongoing games right now, you have Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Fortnite, Genshin Impact, and Final Fantasy 14. Who do you think is doing the best job with ongoing games as a service?
I would have to say Final Fantasy 14 because it seems like it's been around forever.
10 years.
Yeah.
10 years.
God,
it's a long time.
I'm not looking for the Final Fantasy blowjob, okay? That's not what I'm looking for. It should win, by the way. It should. But PSO2. The only problem with PSO2 is that like New Genesis is kind of boo-boo. It's not very good. They kind of didn't. It's another one of those they pushed it out a little bit too early. But anyway, I just thought it was odd because you have, I think the most transformative or the one to have the most impact. I feel like it's actually going to be Genshin. Actually, ironically, I think it's going to be Genshin Impact that's going to win.
Really, how big is Genshin Impact right now? Is it still massive?
Bigger than we want it to be.
Because my son used to play that for a little while, but he said it's terrible now. He does not like it.
Well, you know what it is? Like the story's good, the gameplay is really good. It looks gorgeous. I mean, on anything that you play it on, like when you play it on like high fidelity, like it looks fantastic.
Except the Switch, it looks pretty bad.
Yeah, except for the Switch. But I feel like that's with most things, right?
Yep.
But what it is that
Fortnite will win.
Any game that uses gacha. Gacha pulls. Yeah, exactly. The games that use gacha fundamentally are going to fail because not fail, but fundamentally are going to have issues with longevity because they have less flexibility. So if say you take a break from a game from a long time and then you come back, you don't even remember like why you built the team that you have the way you have it built, and you don't have the flexibility to just go build new characters. Because you have to buy those characters. You know what I mean? And same goes with equipment and money. I recently went back and played Genshin Impact just a couple months ago. And that was one of the things that I found. I'm like, I have to
go ahead,
play a ton of it just to try to get used to playing it again. It was a pain in the ass.
Yeah, my son he stopped. One thing that strikes me or jumps out at me right away is the best narrative category. Because as much as I love Elden Ring, I wouldn't have it in best narrative.
Well, because it's not really like, I mean, though it can be a narrative experience, that's not really what it's designed.
It's not
for,
driven by its narrative much at all. Like it's because I mean the story beats are scattered. There is story there, but it's. You hardly ever really come across a lot of the lore in the story. It seems like it's, I don't know. I don't think it's a best narrative nominee. I really don't.
No, well, I'll be honest with
you. As
you.
A narrative?
Yes.
Yeah, best narrative.
It's weird.
So, and that's the thing, like as much as I love Elden Ring and I 100% believe that it should be game of the year, I don't really remember too much of its lore just because of how sparse and spread out it was. So like, and here's the thing, I would guarantee that if I did take the time to go through the lore and make sure that I hit every single story point, I probably would have loved it and thought, yes, it actually does have best narrative. But I would say like on a massive scale, probably most people don't remember what the game was about other than your maiden list.
I don't like games in general that make you hunt for the lore of the game. It's not. I mean, a lot of people make fun of cinematic games or whatever in the cutscene, but they like having you pick up this knife and then you read the description on it and it has a little bit of lore in there. And then you understand like when it comes like to that, it's a chore for you to tell me your story. I don't like that. I mean, I just don't.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Best art direction, Stray. That's what I voted for there too.
Come on.
Hands down.
Yeah. Stray, Scorn, Horizon Forbidden West, God of War, Ragnarok, and Elden Ring. Best art direction will go to Elden Ring for me. And that's just because of the unique creatures and stuff within the game.
So what are you talking about? You don't think the fleshy butthole game should be the one to get the best art direction?
Oh, God. No.
There's not enough penises.
Did you see that article?
Yes.
Fonts?
Was that Polygon or Kotaku?
No,
Kotaku. Who else would it have been?
Yeah. Well, hey, Polygon has some real doozies sometimes too. Polygon and Kotaku both. They fight for world's stupidest journalism in gaming.
You're calling that journalism? Is that what we're doing?
That's what they call it.
That's a strong word.
That's a strong word.
But yeah, a lot of other, a lot of the other categories, they look fairly okay to me. It's just really, really when it comes down to the game of the year thing. And it doesn't bother me at the end of the day. Like you were saying earlier, Mark, when Red Dead 2 lost to God of War 2018, I didn't have no problem with that. Even though I preferred Red Dead 2, God of War was phenomenal. And I could understand it winning as well. But yeah, I think Red Dead was a better game. But none of this stuff hurts me personally. I really don't care what wins because I have my own game of the year. And for me right now, it's Elden Ring. And I think it'll stay that way, even if I finish God of War. I just, again, there's those parts that aren't very good in God of War for me that really bring it down. But Elden Ring, I had a blast. I don't remember the last time I had so much fun. You know what? I do. The last time I had that much fun in a game where there was no boring parts whatsoever was World of Warcraft. The first time I played World of Warcraft.
Yeah, it's hard to catch that kind of lightning in a bottle.
And that's what it felt like for me when I was playing that game.
Yeah, I would agree with that. 100%. It's been a really, really long time since I've had a game that's held my attention so much that every day I'd get off work, I'd come in and I would play Elden Ring.
Yeah.
And then I'd play it the next day and the next day. And Mark will tell you I have gaming ADHD pretty bad. And I will hop from game to game to game to game and never finish. And I actually never finished Elden Ring.
Oh wow! You need to get back to it, man.
I did.
I'm at the last boss. I was like, well, that's enough.
My favorite part of Elden Ring, and I think what made the game so special, and I think this is probably for a lot of people, is when you get in the game, it doesn't hold your hand, right?
No,
it's a Souls game, but it was such a wide open. It's like I'm one of those people. I like to adventure. I like to explore and figure things out myself. And that game just begs you to do it. You know what I mean? It's just begging you to go out and find something. Go. You go to this corner, and then there's this giant. What was it? Was it a bear in the woods that just fucked me up like 8 times?
When you first go out into the world and you see everything, the first thing you see out there is a fucking tree sentinel or the sentinel.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm gonna fuck with that guy. No.
Yeah.
Got my ass handed to me right away, and I go, oh shit, yeah, I need to go do something else. And it promoted exploration so well because it was like, you know what, maybe you're not supposed to be in this area. Okay, let me find another area where I can be. And then when I was done with that area, what other area can I go to where I can be, and actually, fight things? It pushed exploration like no other game did for ever. I don't think. I think it was just very cool the way they built that world.
It was very cool.
I feel like most games are on rails. You know what I mean? Like narratively are on rails. And because of that, the way the game was designed, like there were certain times where I'll just sit down and I'll be like, okay, so am I going to, you know what? I'm just going to fuck off to this place that I've never been to before just to see what's going on over there. That was it. Just to see what was up, just to see if I could find anything, kill something, talk to some NPC, whatever.
Yeah,
there was no direction.
Boba Fett Gaming played for 20 hours launch day. He slept 4 hours that day, people.
Nice.
That's the way to do it. That was my World of Warcraft days. Yeah, just up all freaking day and night playing that game. Calling into work.
I'll be.
Can't make it.
I'll be a man and admit that I got to Millennia and she made me quit.
It took me 148 times to kill her.
She hurt me so hard. She hurt me so bad.
Yeah, I probably would have quit if I played 148 times against her. I think I beat her after like the 20th time. I was just like,
no. I tried to do it my way, and it just wasn't working until I fucking made it work. So,
yeah. Well, I was one of the ones that was using a mimic though. So.
Oh, see, I didn't do no summons.
So mimics.
I'm just kidding.
Mimics in that game made it a lot easier. Now, I'm not saying it was completely easy, but it made it easier for sure.
Yeah.
Boba Fett Gaming also said Witcher 3 was one of the games he remembers like really getting into years ago. And yeah, that's a great one too. But honestly, with Witcher 3, it took me 4 tries to get into that game. Like I kept trying it for a few hours and I didn't care for it. And then finally it clicked. I figured out how to combat right, how to use the oils and stuff for different creatures and the different swords. And I was like, oh, okay. It's not just a hack and slash. All right, I get it now. So once it clicked, I was like, this game is pretty cool. And the narrative was amazing. So anyways, what were you going to ask me, Ian?
It was
Marc?
me. I saw something and we talked about it, but I wanted to get your take on it. So Warhammer 40K Dark Tide, are you excited for that game?
I wouldn't say excited, but I want to play it.
Okay, so it's supposed to be on It's supposed to be on Game Pass,
yeah,
right?
and it'll be on the consoles at some point. They said sometime after the PC. We don't know how long, but
well, console and Game Pass or whatever, they have split it to where there's no crossplay or cross save between Game Pass or console or PC and console. But even within console, if you bought the game versus you got it on Game Pass, there's no crossplay, which I don't understand how that makes sense for them.
No, I don't either. Because isn't there other Vermintide and stuff? Isn't that all crossplay? Yeah.
And like Ian said, it's a 4-player co-op hack and slash. How are you not going to have crossplay? That's going to be a dead game.
Oh yeah, it's a really weird kind of game to not have cross save. Like it's a very multiplayer focused game.
Do you think maybe the game is a bit different for console opposed to the PC version? Maybe
it might be.
Well, the weird verbiage is Game Pass. That's in the title of the article. It's in Game Pass. So if he buys it on Steam and I get it on Game Pass, we won't be able to play together. That doesn't make sense.
Oh, what if you buy it on console outside of Game Pass?
You can't play with PC.
PC.
Yeah, I don't get it. I don't get it.
My question is, how did you sell that to Game Pass? If I'm Xbox and you come to me and go, hey, I got this game and we want to put it on Game Pass, like, okay, but it's not cross platform. Our PC players can't play with our Xbox players? No.
Yeah, I know a lot of console players don't want to play with PC players. That's a thing.
Well, but this is a multiplayer cooperative game.
Yeah, cooperative. Yeah.
Yeah, in the event of like player versus player, yeah, I understand that, But in something where it's cooperative play, I don't see any reason why we shouldn't be able to play together.
It doesn't make sense. I don't know. There's got to be something different there about the games. I don't know. That's weird. That's really weird. Anyways, I'm not going to hold anybody anymore. It's been well over an hour, guys. Thank you very much for spending some time with us today here on the show. Again, I almost didn't even have a show today because I had somebody drop out, but these two fine gentlemen came and rescued Games Talk Live. So anyways, guys, let everybody know where they can find you. Ian, I'll start with you.
You can find us at Legendary Drops on YouTube. We are the Just Gaming podcast. It's kind of weird to be two things at once, but if you guys look us up, Legendary Drops on YouTube.
It's like Fonz Gaming. I'm Fonz Gaming on YouTube, but I do Games Talk Live here. So
so you guys can look us up either by Legendary Drops or you guys can look us up by the Just Gaming podcast. On Twitter, I am legendary_drops. Mark, how do they find you?
How do they find you, Mark?
Well, you may find me, but I may never see it. No, I'm just kidding. Just Gaming Podcast or Just Gaming Pod at Twitter is where you can find me. And obviously, any of the comment sections in our videos, we love to communicate with y'all. So, Ian's also got a video coming out, I think Wednesday or Tuesday or Monday.
Dude, thank you for
should be a good one.
Thank you for reminding me. So tomorrow, Monday in the morning, I have a video that's coming out on Final Fantasy 16. I highly suggest that you guys go and check it out. I talk about a lot of details behind the team that is making the game and how I think Final Fantasy 16 is going to be the best Final Fantasy ever made.
Well, guys, you heard it here. Follow these guys at the Legendary Drops site here on YouTube. Got their own little space there, Legendary Drops. All one word. If you put it after the youtube.com/Legendary Drops, you'll find them. Or just type in Just Gaming Pod or podcast. You'll see them pop up right away. They've got all kinds of shorts and videos and all kinds of stuff. Follow them. They're really entertaining and fun, and that's why I had them on the show. Otherwise, I wouldn't have them here if they weren't any fun. But thank you guys again. And until next week, game on.